the president is a government. You know, presidency is not just an individual or an entity, and is a government which is anchored on various arms. We have parliament, we have judiciary, and we have the executive, with various commissions that are advisors and serious professionals who have been hired and who understand the global dynamics. Because sometimes, you know, we may sit and think that the government is just a plain sight, what we observe. And a few of us knows that there are many forces behind the government, apart from just the government that we see. And these many forces are really playing active roles in various governments globally. And proper understanding of these many forces may determine the success of any given nation, or the trap of also a given nation. We know globally, driven by forces like IMF and World Bank, and yes, Jubilee government is coming at a time when, as she's saying, is a time of great inflation.
Kenya Kwanza government.
I mean, yes, Kenya Kwanza government, sorry, not Jubilee government. Let me not confuse, like Kalwale was calling Ruto Uhuru when the ground was hot.
Okay.
Sylvia has not made it hot here. Yeah, but Kenya Kwanza government, I still link them with Uhuru, with the Jubilee, because they are one and the same. Actually, it's a continuation of Jubilee government. Ruto was the deputy of Jubilee government, and most of them, actually half of them, were serving in that previous government. Okay. So that regime, subsequently as they've served, have not really fitted in and understood the global village, how it works. And most of the time, they've fallen victims of these trappings. Because historically, some of the things that are happening in terms of economic regulation and various geographical zoning did not begin today. And certain colonizers had interest of making sure that there are serious economic control. Okay. And actually some are serious sabotage to make sure that they control population by directly reducing population, creating pandemics and even maladies. Okay. And this has costed various governments who rose against this. I remember the story of Aldo Moro of Italy, the advent of the killing of industrialization. And this was engineered by the West. Okay. And it continued in certain areas where they have interest with minerals. Because Aldo Moro did not cooperate and he ended up losing his life. And again, Rhodesia with the Smith. Smith was toppled and Mugabe came in. Okay. And when Mugabe came in, Zimbabwe economy actually went down until even to date, as we're talking, the situation in Zimbabwe is a different story. Okay. And all these were for the benefits of local resources. So how do they play this game? Most of the time is through borrowing and inflation of, and through inflation, okay. Or inflation of interest. And borrowing also with conditions, and more so through aid, where they're telling you that we can give you this money. Like Zimbabwe, Mugabe used to get probably around $300 million okay. annually from same IMF with conditions. And the conditions led to closure of industries. And the best closure or a medicine for closing industries normally is when you make cost of production or manufacturing to be high. Okay. How do you do it? You do it through raising of taxes. And this makes sure that the production done within this locality become non-competitive to areas where production are lower or cheaper. You realize that a commodity is shipped to Kenya from China or from the West, and it's cheaper than what is produced locally here. Okay. So with zero industrialization, we talk about no jobs, no job creation, and you make the community vulnerable. So any government with the interest of a citizen at heart should be awoke to the reality that are happening globally and find mechanisms. Like right now, there are those measures that Kenya is tied to, that Kenya must abide to, and especially to those whom he owes. Ethiopia faced the same. Ghana faced the same. Just the other day we had an economic conference called by IMF in the States. And Kenya was part of this.
Okay.
South Africa, Ghana, and Ethiopia. Do you know what they did? Then they raised their proposal of, instead of putting us into these standards and measures that you are raising to tie up our countries, to oblige and sort out our debts, why don't you not sacrifice our citizens, but sacrifice on your end and restructure our debts? And as they talk right now, that has given them a leeway or a room to still have something for education, to still have something to pay workers, to still have something to run their governments, as they are restructuring what? Their debts. But Kenya, instead of taking such options, our president opted to sacrifice his own people to be good for further promises of more loans. And what does he sacrifice? Education money, and this is why even governors, county governments can't be paid. We are having issues and crises with the salaries of even police officers. So when you are taking measures to please outsiders, one needs to understand who these external forces or agencies are before I please them, because what's their intention? So if you are elected on the basis of people-centered, bottom-up approach, people must come first. But when your measures begin by sacrificing people first, this is why if somebody is sensitive on the ground as you're talking right now,